Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to Feed My Flock Church. I'm Brother Sean. The reader of the law today is going to be Brother Ron. And then later, my reader for the lesson would be Brother Des. We're going to start out with the reading of the law, Exodus chapter 20. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, starting at Exodus chapter 20, verse 1. And the Most High spake all these words, saying, I am the Most High thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other powers before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Most High thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquities of the father upon the children unto the third and fourth generations of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Most High thy power in vain, for the Most High will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Most High thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Most High made heaven and earth and the sea, and all that is in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Most High blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Most High thy power giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
Amen. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome, brother. All praises.
For the people that's watching online, can you hit the like button? Hit the like button. The title of today's lesson, cleaning up God's temple. Are you worshiping other gods unknowingly? Are you worshiping other gods unknowingly? As the world is going into the holiday season, we as believers must sound the trumpet and let them know what this time is really all about. You may think this season is innocent, but as we go through this lesson, you will see that it's really lawless. They have you thinking that you're serving Christ, serving the Messiah, but as we go through this lesson, like I said, we will see who you're actually serving. The first scripture of the day is going to be Colossians chapter 2. Colossians chapter 2, verse 6 through 8.
The book of Colossians, chapter 2, verses 6 through 8. As ye have therefore received Christ Yasha, the Lord, so walk ye in him, rooted and built up in him, and established in the faith, as ye have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving. Beware, lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ.
Okay, so let's look into that. As verse 6, it says, as ye have therefore received the Messiah, Yasha, that's Jesus. When we say Yasha, that's us just saying Savior in Hebrew. When you receive the Messiah, Yasha, the Lord, so walk ye in him. So it's telling us that we got to walk in the Messiah. We got to walk in his footsteps. Rooted and built up in him and established in faith, as ye have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. We must be aware of philosophy and vain deceit. That's what this lesson is about. Let's go to Colossians. Let's go jump down to verse 18.
Verse 18. Let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels, introducing into those things which he hath not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind.
So it's saying, let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels, intruding into those which he has not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind. So let no man trick you of your reward. Let no man trick you in your reward, and let no man convince you or trick you into worshiping angels. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 5 and 6.
First Corinthians chapter 8, verse 5 through 6. For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, as there be gods many and lords many, but to us there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord, Yasha, Christ, by whom are all things, and we by him.
So I brought this scripture out to show you that there are many gods, but it's only one most high God. There's only one true God, and his name is Ahia. He created all things. He even created the other gods. Let's go to Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. And we just read this in the law.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
It says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. You should not have any other gods, just me. Let's go to Matthew chapter 4, verse 9 and 10.
The book of Matthew, chapter 4, verses 9 through 10. And saith unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then said Yasha unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Most High thy power, and him only shalt thou serve.
Okay, so now you're seeing when Satan went to go tempt Christ, the Messiah. He says, and says unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. And then the Messiah says, Then says Yeshua unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. So Satan knew that he was a God. He has power to give over the world. He's the ruler of this world. This world was given over to the hands of the wicked, which is him. So he does have that power. So he does have that power to bless people, to give them things. And a lot of people don't realize that. And when these other nations started worshiping their gods that were put up over them, they were getting things. They were able to conquer lands. They were getting riches and was doing all these other things. But now we're going to dig into these gods and these seasons, this season that we're in. But we're going to go back to October 31st. We're going to go back to Halloween. I'm going to get out the Bible and I'm going to go to the Encyclopedia Britannica. And I'm going to read to you about where Halloween originated from, what it came from, and how it starts this season. Halloween stems from Samhain. Samhain, in the ancient Celtic region, a festival marked the end of summer and the beginning of winter. It has been celebrated October 31st or on November 1st, a date set after Christianization of the British Isles in ancient Ireland. It was the time of ingathering for the winter and it was time for ingathering for the winter and served as a bookend to Beltane on May 1st, which celebrated the inauguration of summer. It was believed that on Samhain, during the seasonal transition, spirits came to the world of the living, and their presence was regarded with trepidation in conjunction with All Souls Day and All Saints Day. Samhain had an influence on the modern holiday of Halloween and is also celebrated as an important holiday in modern paganism. Very little can be said certainly about the ancient Samhain observances because the evidence is sparse. One might say that the spookiness of this time, according to the Celtic perspective, parallels the mysteriousness of the ancient Samhain for people today who seek knowledge of the past. The ancient Celts of Ireland left few record of the holiday, and much of what is known comes either from Christian writers after Christianity had become the predominant in the region, or from observation of local practices. In more recent centuries, brief reference to Samhain as a calendar holiday appears in Irish tales dating to the 10th and 12th centuries, but more specific description date only to the 18th century are based on writings about practices in Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and the Isles. Whether these practices reflect the ancient Samhain or were merely local secular was always celebrated a holiday is unclear. Stray stands for folklore from Ireland and Wales, suggests that Samhain was believed to be a period when mysterious events could happen because the opening of the barrier between the realm of the spirits and the realm of the living. Some writers suggest a belief that those who had died in the past year passed to the next realm, but spirits in that realm could also return to the world of the living. Moreover, a person could accidentally stumble into the other realm. Fairies, in particular, were believed to emerge from the mounds and play tricks on the living. In response to these perceived supernatural threats, the Celts practitioners in some religions, witches and goblins. In 1589, there was a probation of hollow mass, goblins, fires in Stirling. Fires in Stirling, Scotland. The 17th century Irish antiquary Geoffrey Keating suggested that one bonfire would be lit on the hill of Talactica, Hill of Ward, and families would light their fires from it. However, he cited no source, and the assertion itself might be folklore. The evidence for fire being lit on Samhain in Ireland is thin but stronger, for them being a part of Beltane festivals, there which might have led to some confusion. In some regions of Scotland and Wales, however, large fires were used as part of divination practices on Samhain to ascertain fates of the living. In in Southern Ireland, women crosses called parashels made from sticks and straw served towards off evil on Samhain, and other apotropathic rituals observed on the holiday in Ireland and in Inverness has been recorded. Scattered mention in folklore points to feasting, games, stories, and alcohol consumption as part of Samhain's festival. Food-related practices might have included serving food to the deceased who returned to the world of the living. There were also rituals employed on the holiday to predict a young woman's romantic or matrimonial future, including dumb suppers or dumb cakes. Food eaten in silence, which were thought capable to inducing visions of future husbands, according to Irish folklore. In the Mark Immer of the Ulster cycle, Samhain was treated as a New Year's festival, but it is unclear whether that was the case only in some part of Ireland. Further hints indicate that Samhain was linked to a pastoral schedule, a time of bringing in the cows from the pasture or slaughtering pigs for the winter. However, Samhain was observed. It is clear that the holiday marked a changing of season and the opening between mundane and supernatural realms. Samhain has been adopted and adapted in modern paganism, particularly Wicca, as a major holiday within the family of religious movements which established their legitimacy as a harken back to the pre-Christian European religion. Samhain is celebrated predominantly as a holiday of honoring the dead. In many modern pagan celebrations, altars are constructed and furnished with photographs of the deceased, thus echoing Christian practices on All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, as well as the Day of the Dead festival in Mexico. Ritual activities in modern pagan versions of Samhain also include sitting in a sacred circle in which the spirits of the deceased are invoked and attempting to communicate with the spirits in the next world. Samhain coincides with the later Christian festival of All Saints' Day, which is part of All Hallow Tide, a period of 3 days dedicated to remembering the dead that begins with All Hallows Eve, October 31st, and is followed by All Hallows or All Saints' Day, November 1st, and All Souls' Day, November 2nd. Some scholars, such as James Fraser, allege that these holidays of the dead were based on Samhain, or were crafted by Christian leaders to diminish the pagan Samhain festival. However, these Christian holidays developed very early in the history of Christianity and were established by the Roman Catholic Church. So your tradition of Halloween was established by who? Rome, the Roman Catholic Church. So they would go into a land, they would like the customs, the evil custom that these people were doing, and they would adopt that into Christianity. Paganism. So now you see October 31st is the beginning of their season. Next holiday, we're going to go into Thanksgiving. This article is from by Arcane. How do you say that?
Alchemy.
By Arcane Alchemy. And this website is a straight up pagan website. This is straight from the pagans. The pagan origin of Thanksgiving. It's almost time for Thanksgiving for one personal favorite holiday. We're all familiar with the classic story of the Native Americans dining with pilgrims, but our modern day Thanksgiving has deeper pagan roots. Okay, let me stop right now. Fair use for religious and educational purposes only. But our modern day Thanksgiving has deeper pagan roots than many may be aware of. So let's dig into the history of the holiday and reveal some surprising pagan elements. In America, it is believed that the first Thanksgiving took place in 1621, but this was not the first time people gathered to give thanks for the autumn harvest. In fact, people have been celebrating the harvest for millennia, and our Thanksgiving meal is just a modern incarnation reflecting the ancient celebrations of autumn abundance. Most of our modern holidays, like Christmas and Easter, are a combination of pagan and Christian traditions. Thanksgiving, on the other hand, doesn't have as much of a Christian influence. While Thanksgiving is not tied to any one specific religion, its traditions are quite similar to a number of ancient pagan harvest celebrations. For example, In ancient Rome, they celebrated a holiday of Cerilla, which honored the harvest goddess of grain called Ceres, Ceres. There are around 100 different harvest gods and goddesses from the Greek and Roman culture. So it's clear that celebrating the harvest season was a key feature of their spiritual beliefs. Harvest celebrations were also vitally important during the Celtic and Anglo-Saxon pagan times. In British, these traditions evolved into a holiday called Harvest Home. Historically, the date of Harvest Home differed each year as it was celebrated when all of the autumn crops were finally harvested. The final cartload of food was paraded through the town, and a big harvest supper was celebrated among the villagers. Apparently, the harvest supper started to get a bit out of hand, and in 1867 were described as the unrestricted riot and excess. In addition to Harvest Home, a separate religious holiday called the Days of Thanksgiving was practiced in the Church of England, in which people set aside one religious day of their choosing to give thanks to God. We get the name Thanksgiving from the Christian tradition, while the feasting commonly associated with Thanksgiving largely derives from the Harvest Home celebrations. Luckily for us Americans, our Harvest Thanksgiving celebrations were never commandeered by the church, and as such, they remain pretty pagan to this day. Here in America, a lot of our imaginary around Thanksgiving shows shared meals between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans. It could be said that the rosy view of our first Thanksgiving meal together is largely misleading and helps to obscure the many atrocities the colonists committed upon the Native Americans. The Native Americans, like the ancient pagan people of Europe, understood the importance of the honoring and respecting the harvest. And during the first American Thanksgiving took place in America in 1621, the Native Americans paused to give thanks to many spirits and deities and aided in a bountiful harvest. So even Thanksgiving has roots in paganism. Next holiday, Christmas. Get your phone ready. The Christmas celebration is Saturnalia. Saturnalia, the most popular of Roman festivals, dedicated to the Roman god Saturn. The festival influence continues to be felt throughout the Western world. And this is from Encyclopedia Britannica. Fair use for religious and educational purpose only. Originally celebrated on December 17, Saturnalia was extended first to 3, eventually to 7 days. The date has been connected with the winter sowing season, which in modern Italy varies from October to January. Remember what he just said. It says it varies from October to January, right? Remarkably, like the Greeks, Corona, it was the liveliest festival of the year. All work and business were suspended. Slaves were given temporary freedom to say and do what they liked. And certain moral restrictions were eased. The streets were infected with a Mardi Gras madness. A mock king was chosen. The season greeting of seasonal greeting was that Io Saturnalia was heard everywhere. The closing days of Saturnalia were known for its signalia because of the custom of making towards the end of the festival. Presents of candles, wax molds of fruit, and wax statues, which were fashioned by the signalia, are manufactured of small figures in wax and other media. The cult statue of Saturn himself, traditionally bound at the feet with wooden bands, was united presumably to come out and join the fun. The influence of Saturnalia upon the celebration of Christmas and New Year has been direct. The fact that Christmas was celebrated on the birthday of the encompassed sun, S-U-N, dies soul, whatever that says in Latin, in Invicta Nati, gave the season a solar background, connected with the Keelings of January. January 1st, the Roman New Year, when houses were decorated with greenery and lights and presents were given to children and the poor. Concerning the gift candles, the Romans had a story that an old prophecy bade the earliest inhabitations of Latium send heads to Hades, and Phota, Phota, to Saturn. The ancient Latins interpreted this meaning human sacrifice, but according to legends, Hercules advised using lights or man according to ancient and not human heads. They were using human heads
As decoration.
as decorations. Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Now,
so the lights around the house that people set up for Christmas. Back then, they would set up heads around their houses.
yeah, to represent, yeah,
For
that's their
decoration.
decorations. Okay, but now we're gonna play a video, and this is from Pat Robertson, CBN Network, the Christian Broadcast Network, coming from his own mouth to let you know what this season is, what Christmas is.
Gathering 5. Connected to. Yes. We have friends who do not celebrate Christmas because they say December 25th is really a pagan holiday. While I agree that Jesus may not have been born on December 25th, he certainly was born as described in the Bible. How do I respond to them?
Well, in a sense, tell them they're right. You see, the winter solstice a couple of days later was the shortest day of the year, and the pagans had something called Saturnalia, and it was a time of lawlessness because all the laws were suspended, and a bunch of singers who actually wandered the streets naked singing, and then they had orgies, sexual orgies. It was a mass thing. Well, when the Catholic Church came along in Italy, the Romans didn't want to give up their holidays, so they said, okay, we'll Christianize it. And so they said, okay, we'll say the birth of Jesus was the 25th of December. And then there was a monk who began to add it up. You see, if you read in Luke, it says there's a census taken when Quirinius was governor and so forth and so on. And they could take those leaders and figure the exact time dating from the foundation of Rome. And that's when the dates were established. And so they get pretty close to the date. But to say it's the 25th, shepherds were out abiding in the field. It gets a little cold at night. I mean, we're out there in the middle of winter, you know. I don't know. I've been out there on the shepherd's field and on Christmas Eve. It's very nice, but it's cold. And nevertheless, I mean, what was going on? So all this business about mistletoe, pagan, Christmas trees, pagan, giving out gifts, pagan. Every bit of it is pagan. Every single bit of it is pagan. We've Christianized it all. And so that's good. And so we have time, we celebrate for Jesus. Everybody gets all misty-eyed. But the truth is, they're all pagan. But the birth of Jesus.
But the intent of the heart is what it's about.
Exactly. So we have Christianized all these things. We give gifts in the name of Jesus. We celebrate his birthday. And it's a nice thing. And so I'm very delighted. I like Christmas, but I tell you, the best Christmas I ever spent in all of my life, my best Christmas, all of my life, was spent in Jerusalem when we had no Christmas ornaments, none of this stocking, none of this, this stuff. But on Christmas Eve, we stood in Shepherd's Field and we sang, "O Little Town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie." And the next day we had a service, and on Christmas Day we baptized about 50-some people in the Jordan River. That was a wonderful Christmas.
Amen.
All right. Okay, thanks for those questions. I hope I didn't shock you. I'm not being irreverent, but it's the way it is.
When you put your tree up.
Huh? I finally got one of those fake trees, and it's beautiful. It's already pre-lit, and you just plug those little joints in, stick it up.
You said when you put your tree up. Now they just done told you all this is against God, but they doing it anyway. When are you putting your tree up? Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 10. Verse 1 through 5.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, verses 1 through 5. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus said the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good.
Okay. So everything that he just said, it tells you in the Bible not to do. Don't cut a tree down, put it in your house, deck it with silver and gold. And one of the things that we do, or people do, they get that tree up in their house, and what's the top ornament that goes on top of the tree? A star.
Or an angel.
Or an angel.
Mm-hmm.
A star or an angel goes on top of that tree. That's worshiping another God. You might think it's innocent, but it's not innocent to the Most High, because you're reverencing another God. He hates that. And we'll see it later on in the scriptures where he's going to tell them, if you go doing after these things, I'm going to destroy you. But what about New Year's? That's innocent. January is named after a Roman god. Janus. This is from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Fair use for religious and educational purposes only. Janus is a Roman religion. Janus in Roman religion, the amistic spirit of doorways, an archway, Janus, and the what's that? Nymph, Camacine were the parents of Tiberius, whose death in or by the river of Abula caused to be renamed Tiber. The worship of Janus traditionally dated back to Romulus in a period even before the actual founding of the city of Rome. There was many Jani ceremonial gateways in Rome. These were usually freestanding structures that were used for the symbolically auspicious entrance or exits. Particularly, a superstition was attached to the departure of a Roman army, for which there were luckily and unlucky ways to march through a Janus. The most famous Janus in Rome was the Janus of Geminus, which was actually a shrine of Janus at the north side of the Forum. It was a simple rectangular bronze statue with double doors at each end. Traditionally, the doors of this shrine were left open in time of war and were kept closed when Rome was at peace. According to the Roman historian Livy, the gates were closed only twice in all the long period between Numa and Pompilius and Augustus. Some scholars regard Janus as the god of all beginnings and believe that his association with doorways is derivative. He was invoked as the first of any god in regular literature Greece, the beginning of the day, month, and year, both calendrical and agricultural, whereas sacred to him. The month of January is named for him, and his festival took place on January the 9th. The Agonim, there were several important temples erected to Janus, and it is assumed that they were also an early cult of the Janacolium, which the ancients took to mean the city of Janus. Janus was represented by a double-faced head, and he was represented in art either with or without a beard. Occasionally, he was depicted as a four-faced, as a spirit, or the four-way arch. So January, Happy New Year, January 1st, all goes to Janus, that god. So when you're out there celebrating New Year's, that's who you're doing it for.
Pagan.
But let's not stop there. Let's go to the next one. Mardi Gras. Yeah, I'm gonna let you read that one.
All right. All right. This is from the Encyclopedia Britannica. And this is Mardi Gras.
Fair use.
Mardi Gras, festive day celebrated in France on Shrove Tuesday, the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday, which marks the close of the pre-Lent season. The French name Mardi Gras means Fat Tuesday from the custom of using all the fats in the home before Lent in preparation for fasting and abstinence.
So using all the fats before Lent, right? But what happens during the Israelite Passover? You got to get all the leaven out your house. So Satan likes to copy. He likes to mimic God. Go ahead.
All right. In the United States, the principal carnival celebration is in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay, so now it's the difference between this carnival and Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras actually is Fat Tuesday, but it's a period. This is a carnival period where they do all the parades. Go ahead.
The carnival season there opens on 12th night, also called Epiphany, which is observed on January 6th and climaxes with the Mardi Gras festivities commencing 10 days before Shrove Tuesday. This period is filled with citywide revelry and elaborate parades, both day and night, building up to Mardi Gras and the Rex Parade. Beads of gold, green, and purple, representing power, faith, and justice, respectively, are commonly distributed, and the eating of king cake is an iconic part of the celebration.
Eating of the king cake. Now remember that king cake. Go ahead.
Carnival, the merrymaking and festivity that takes place in many Roman Catholic countries in the last days and hours before the Lenten season. The derivation of the word is uncertain, though it possibly can be traced to the medieval Latin carninum, levar, or carnivarium, which means to take away or remove meat. This coincides with the fact that Carnival is the final festivity before the commencement of the Ashur 40 days of Lent, during which Roman Catholics in earlier times fasted, abstained from eating meat, and followed their ascetic practices. The historical origin of Carnival is also obscure. It possibly has its root in a primitive festival honoring the beginning of the new year and the rebirth of nature, though it is also possible that the beginnings of Carnival in Italy may be linked to the pagan Saturnalian festival of ancient Rome.
See how it's linked together? Saturnalia and Mardi Gras, Carnival, all this season's linked together. Go ahead.
The first day of Carnival varies with both national and local traditions. Thus, in Munich, in Bavaria, Carnival seasons, they are called Fasking, begins on the Feast of the Epiphany, January 6th, while the Cologne in the Rhineland, it begins on November 11th at 11:11 a.m.
Okay,
11th month.
so think about that day. November the 11th, 11 a.m., right? November 11th is what for us? Veterans Day. So they tied in Veterans Day with another day, thinking that you're celebrating the troops and what they're doing. Now they done brought the troops in and gave them a holiday, but it's actually on another pagan day. Read.
It says the 11th month, day, hour, and minute. In France, the celebration is restricted to Shrove Tuesday.
In France. Why in France? That was D-Day. Go ahead.
The Tuesday before Ash Wednesday, and to Maya Creme, the Thursday of the third week of Lent. More generally, the commencement date is Quinquagesima Day, the day before Ash Wednesday. and the termination is Shrove Tuesday. In some parts of Spain, Ash Wednesday also is included in the carnival celebrations, an observance that stems from a time when Ash Wednesday was not an integral part of Lent. In earlier times, Rome was most conspicuous as the center of carnival activity, and the splendor and richness of the festivity that marked its observance there are sacredly surpassed elsewhere. Today, in a popular carnival parade in Sedelian, Switzerland, demon masks are worn and large bells claimed to drive out evil spirits and to announce the end of winter in the eve of Lent in spring.
Same as Halloween. Go ahead.
In its long history, carnival has played a significant role in the development of popular theater, vernacular song, and folk. Yeah, and folk. In the United States, the principal carnival celebration is in New Orleans, where the carnival season opens on 12th night, January 6th, and climaxes with the Mardi Gras festivities commencing 10 days before Shrove Tuesday. The French name Mardi Gras means Fat Tuesday from the custom of using all the fats of the home before Lent in Italy. Vents became a gathering place for traditionally disguised carnival. Carnival revelers. The most famous modern carnival is perhaps that of Rio de Janeiro.
Rio de Janeiro.
De Janeiro. Mass balls, elaborate costumes, parades, and various other festivities mark such celebrations.
That's down in Brazil. So they're doing the same celebration down there in Brazil. Same is Mexico. Is wherever the Catholic Church is, they're doing some kind of festivity to their gods. So let's look at some of the key mythical figures associated with Mardi Gras. Bacchus, Roman or Dionysus, Greek, the god of wine, ecstasy, revelry. He is a central figure representing the spirit of celebration and is the namesake for the crew of Bacchus and his king. So the crew is like the parade. Excuse me. Then you have Momus, Momus, the Greek god of satire, mockery, and blame. Then you have Zeus, the king of the Greek god. So remember Zeus, because when we go back into the Bible, we're going to hear about Zeus. Representing the authority and power. Some crews, like the crews of Muse, are named after his daughters. Then you have Muse, about the 9 daughters of Zeus. Protus, Okeanos, the god of the oceans, and fertility. These are all the gods that's associated with Mardi Gras itself. Now we're going to read about this king cake associated with Mardi Gras.
All right. All right, this is from the Britannica.
Encyclopedia Britannica. Fair use for educational purposes only.
All right, so it says king cake, a sweet ring-shaped pastry that is served from Epiphany through Shrove Tuesday. In the Christian calendar, it is particularly associated with Mardi Gras, the festive pre-Lenten season. In the United States, and it is usually baked with a symbolic trinket hidden inside, often to represent the baby Jesus.
So this cake is baked with the baby Jesus inside. Go ahead.
Traditionally, The person who receives the piece of cake containing the trinket is named king or queen of the festivities and is obligated to host the next party of the season, keeping the revelry going until Lent begins. Many other countries have a similar tradition of baking cakes with objects hidden inside as part of pre-Lenten celebrations. History. The concept of hiding an object inside a baked cake can be traced back to the ancient festival of Saturnalia, which honored Saturn, the Roman god of agriculture, and was celebrated during the winter solstice. Saturnalia was an occasion when many social hierarchies were subverted. In particular, enslaved people were given temporary freedom and invited to share cake with their enslavers. A mock king known as Saturnalius Principius or Princeps was designated for the festival, usually by hiding a fava bean or a coin inside a cake. If a celebrant's piece of cake contained the hidden object, the lucky reveler was named king for that day and could ask for anything regardless of the person's social class. In Europe, in the Middle Ages, a similar cake tradition came to be associated with Epiphany, which is celebrated on January 6th in the Western Church and commemorates the arrival of Bethlehem of the Magi, also as the three wise men or the three kings. In the Bible, the Magi brought gifts for baby Jesus. The cake was therefore originally called Three Kings Cake and served as both a reenactment and a celebration of the coming of Magi. Over time, the name was shortened to King's Cake and then simply King Cake. Other names are Epiphany Cake or Twelfth Night Cake, the latter referring to the 12 days it took the Magi to arrive in Bethlehem after receiving the news of the birth of Christ. Epiphany marks the 12th and final day of Christmas.
It's all tied in together. Pagan. Easter is the same thing. Or this whole season from October 31st to whenever Easter is, it's all tied together. February, you have Valentine's Day. It's their whole season of paganism. And you think Easter, you're celebrating Christ, the resurrection. That's not true. And there's one place in the Bible that you read the word Easter. But when you do the translation, it's Passover. Mm-hmm. And you read where the Anglo-Saxons had their hands in a lot of these traditions. And who helped translate the Bible? The Anglo-Saxons. So they found a place to put the word Easter in the scriptures. But we're going to talk about these gods. And we're going to go back to the Bible. And we're going to go to the book of Acts. Remember, I told you to remember Zeus and Mercury, right? Let's go to Acts chapter 14, verse 8 through 18. The book of Acts chapter 14, verse 8 through 18.
The book of Acts, chapter 14, verses 8 through 18. And there sat a certain man at Lystra, impotent in his feet, being a cripple from his mother's womb, whom never had walked. The same heard Paul speak, who steadfastly beholding him, and perceiving that he had faith to be healed, said with a loud voice, "Stand upright on thy feet." And he leaped and walked. And when the people saw what Paul had done, they lifted up their voices, saying in the speech of Lycaonia, "The gods are come down to us in the likeness of men." And they called Barnabas Jupiter, and Paul Mercurius, because he was the chief speaker.
And they called Barnabas Jupiter and Paul Mercurius. They called Paul Mercury because he was the chief speaker. So this whole thing of, oh, it's just a myth. Nah, they were doing this back in the biblical days. So it's not a myth. They're worshiping their gods. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Then the priest of Jupiter, which was before their city, brought oxen and garlands unto the gates, and would have done sacrifice with the people.
So listen to this now. Then the priest of Jupiter, which was before the city, brought oxen and garland unto the gates. What do you wrap around the tree? Garland. Put on your mantle, garland. Garland was a crown of twigs or what of vegetation they would put. So now that's a custom that they tied in with their Christmas, Saturnalia. Go ahead.
Verse 14. Which when the apostles Barnabas and Paul heard of, they rent their clothes and ran in among the people, crying out and saying, "Sirs, why do ye these things? We also are men of like passions with you, and preach unto you that ye should turn from these vanities unto the living God, which made heaven and earth and the sea and all things that are therein, who in times past suffered all nations to walk in their own ways. Nevertheless, he left not himself without witness, in that he did good and gave us rain from heaven and fruitful seasons, filling our hearts with food and gladness. And with these things scarce restrained they the people, that they had not done sacrifice unto them.
So they tried to do sacrifices unto Paul and Barnabas because they thought they were Jupiter and Mercury. But it says in verse 15, and saying, "Sirs, why do these things? We also men like of like passions with you, and preach unto you that ye should turn from these vanities unto the living God." So Paul and Barnabas was teaching them, telling them, turn away from these gods and come to the living God. Everything that we just read in these articles was talking about the dead. God is the God of the living. Ahia is the power of the living, not the dead.
Right.
Why are we dealing with these pagan rituals? You call yourself Christians and you're out here dealing with this stuff and this paganism. God hates this stuff, but we're going to be your enemy because we're going to tell you the truth. I do it for the children. That's what most of you say.
Mm-hmm.
And all you're doing is indoctrinating your children into paganism.
Oh, they say y'all used to do it.
Y'all
used to do it.
Y'all used to do it till we learned the truth.
Yeah.
Jupiter, the Strong's number is G2203. The word is Zeus. So Jupiter is Zeus. Remember Mardi Gras? The parade of Zeus. So the customs are still going on today. Mercurius, G2060, Hermes, another god, Mercury. Now we're going to go to Acts chapter 19, verse 21 through 39.
The book of Acts, chapter 19, verse 21 through 39. After these things were ended, Paul purposed in the Spirit, then when he had passed through Macedonia and Achaia, to go to Jerusalem, saying, after I have been there, I must also see Rome. So he sent into Macedonia two of them that ministered unto him, Timotheus and Erastus. But he himself stayed in Asia for a season. In the same time, there arose no small stir about that way. For a certain man named Demetrius, a silversmith, which made silver shrines for Diana, brought no small gain unto the craftsmen, whom he called together with the workmen of like occupation, and said, sirs, ye know that by this craft we have our wealth. Moreover, ye see and hear that not alone at Ephesus, but almost throughout all Asia, this Paul hath persuaded and turned away much people, saying that they be no gods, which are made with hands.
Let me stop you right there. I'm going to start with verse 24. For a certain man named Demetrius, a silversmith, which made silver shrines for Diana, brought no small gain unto the craftsmen, whom he called together with the workmen of like occupation, and said, sirs, ye know that by this craft we have our wealth. So it's like this whole system, this whole season is off. They're making money off of you, off the poor people. They're making their wealth. But what happens if we stop celebrating and stop buying all the idol stuff, the lights, the trees, the candles? What happens when we stop doing that? They lose their wealth. In verse 26, it says, moreover, ye see and hear that not alone at Ephesus, but also almost throughout all Asia, this Paul has persuaded and turned away much people, saying that they be no gods, which are made with hands. So the disciples were telling them, hey, they're not gods. Stop worshiping them. Go ahead.
Verse 27. So that not only this our craft is in danger to be set at naught, but also that the temple of the great goddess Diana should be despised, and her magnificence should be destroyed, whom all Asia in the worshipeth. And when they heard these sayings, they were full of wrath, and cried out, saying, great is Diana of the Ephesians.
Great is Diana of the Ephesians.
Mm-hmm.
So they got upset and start calling out to their goddess, Diana, how great she is. Go ahead.
Verse 29. And the whole city was filled with confusion, and having caught Gaius and Aristarchus, men of Macedonia, Paul's companions in travel, they rushed with one accord into the theater. And when Paul would have entered in unto the people, the disciples suffered him not. And certain of the chief of Asia, which were his friends, sent unto him, desiring him that he would not adventure himself into the theater. Some therefore cried one thing, and some another, for the assembly was confused, and the more part knew not whether they were come together. And they drew Alexander out of the multitude, the Jews putting him forward, and Alexander beckoned with the hand, and would have made his defense unto the people. But when they knew that he was a Jew, all with one voice about the space of 2 hours cried out, Great is Diana of the Ephesians.
See how they bucked the system? When they knew that he was part of God's chosen people, they bucked the system. Great is Diana, exalting their God over the Most High. Go ahead.
Verse 35. And when the town clerk had appeased the people, he said, Ye men of Ephesus, what man is there that knoweth not how that the city of the Ephesians is a worshiper of the great goddess Diana, and of the image which fell down from Jupiter?
Which is the image that what?
That fell down from Jupiter.
Fell down from Jupiter. Go ahead.
Seeing then that these things cannot be spoken against, ye ought to be quiet and do nothing rashly. For ye have brought hither these men, which are neither robbers of churches, nor yet blasphemers of your goddess. Wherefore, if Demetrius and the craftsmen which are with him have a matter against any man, the law is open, and there are deputies, let them implead one another. But if ye inquire anything concerning other matters, it shall be determined in a lawful assembly.
Go to verse 41.
41.
Yeah.
Verse 40. For we are in danger to be called in question for this day's uproar, there being no cause whereby we may give an account of this concourse. And when he had thus spoken, he dismissed the assembly.
So and this happened, if you know the story about Abraham and his father. Abraham broke the idols in his father's house. Abraham's father went to the king, which was Nimrod. You got to read the story. It's in the book of Jasher. But that's how people get when it comes down to these idols. They want to give you up. They take it so personal. They're so attached to it. When you tell them about it, it's like you're speaking hate to them. But this is not hate. As we say all the time, this is love. We're trying to get you out of this pagan world. Trying to get you to follow the true and living God, not after the traditions of men. Many will be like the people of Ephesus. They will fight tooth and nail to hold on to their gods. But you will have some who will hear this lesson and put down their gods and turn to the Most High, Ahia. We might get one or two or three or four. Most High willing, we can get a lot. But if you hear this lesson, if it touches you, put down these pagan practices and come to the Most High. Right now, you'll see in these churches where they're going to set up a Christmas tree. They're going to put a star or an angel on top of these trees. And it's like they turn a blind eye to the scriptures. They turn a blind eye to people telling them, hey, that's wrong. We're here to tell you that's wrong. Come to the truth. Come worship the true God with us. Leave that paganism alone. They don't care about your soul. It's a money thing, ties thing, whatever. They want to cater to your feelings. Now we're going to go into how the Most High feels about it. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 13. And we'll read through verse 15.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verses 13 through 15. Thou shalt fear the Most High thy power, and serve him, and shalt swear by his name. Ye shall not go after other gods, of the gods of the people which are round about you. For the Most High thy power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of the Most High thy power be kindled against thee, and destroy thee from off the face of the earth.
Destroy you off the face of the earth for doing that. Go ahead. We're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 29 through 32.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 12, verses 29 through 32. When the Most High thy power shall cut off the nations from before thee, whether thou goest to possess them, and thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their land, take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them. After that they be destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquired not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. Thou shalt not do so unto the Most High thy power, for every abomination to the Most High, which he hateth, have they done unto their gods. For even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods. What things soever I command you, observe to do. Thou shalt not add thereunto or thereto, nor diminish from it.
He says in verse 31, thou shalt not do so unto the Lord thy God, Ahiah thy power. For every abomination to Ahiah, which he hateth, have they done unto their gods. For even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods. Us teaching these practices to our children, all it is doing is destroying them. You might think it's innocent, but God doesn't think that. The Most High does not think that. He can't stand it. He hates it. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 1 through 4.
First Peter, chapter 4, verses 1 through 4. For as much then as Christ hath suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin, that he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh, to the lust of men, but to the will of the Most High. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles, when we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries, wherein they think it strange that you run not with them to the same excess of wrath, speaking evil of you.
Verse 3. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles. So everything that we just talked about was the will of the Gentiles. All those pagan practices was the will of the Gentiles. When we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, think about all these practices and what they involve: lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries. That's all these pagan holidays wrapped up into one. He put it all in one scripture. And that's what they were doing, and that's what they're doing now. You go to your Christmas celebration, people are drinking, all kinds of stuff going on. Thanksgiving, same thing. Halloween, same thing. New Year's. I used to tell my children, y'all don't go, y'all not going out. Then this is before we came into the truth. Y'all are not going out anywhere on New Year's Eve. Man, Daddy, that's when that's when all the bad stuff happens. That's when you get that phone call because somebody ain't drunk, had a drink all year long, decides, well, I'm gonna go out and have a drink and drive.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, your child's not coming back. This whole season is like that. And then you look at the suicide rate. It goes up during this season. Oh, I can't make it home. People get depressed. I don't have enough money to put the presents underneath the tree. All this stuff that, you're sacrificing all this stuff for some pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
for some feel good. This is your feel good. This is your pleasure right here. Serving the Most High in spirit and truth. When you stop serving these other gods, people are going to speak evil of you. All you have to do is remember, they hated the Messiah before they hated you. Even the atheists will have a tree in their house, celebrate New Year's, Halloween, etc. I know this is going to be a tough pill to swallow, but you have to make a choice. It is not one of the holidays that the Most High commanded. It's not one of the holidays that the Most High commanded. We must let it go. If you want to know where the holy days are, it's Leviticus chapter 23, the Feast of Dedication and Maccabees, which we have next week, and Purim in the book of Esther, which we have in February. Those are sanctioned by the Most High, not these other holidays. Let's go to Joshua chapter 24, verse 14 and 15. These are the last two scriptures.
The book of Joshua, chapter 24, verses 14 through 15. Now therefore, fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served in the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Now therefore fear Ahiah, and serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve ye Ahiah. And if it seem evil unto you to serve Ahiah, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve Ahiah, the Most High, thy power. Choose this day. You going to serve those other gods of the nations, or you going to come to the real truth? Serve the real God, the Most High God. When we say Ahiah, it's I am that I am. Ahiah Shah Ahiah. That's the name he gave Moses. So we're not speaking nothing foreign to you. That's it. Ahiah's in the Hebrew. With that being said, that's all I have. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. We're the brothers of Feed My Flock Church. Like, subscribe, share. Share. Please share, because this word has to get out. The truth has to get out. It's about saving souls. You can like us on Facebook. You can donate through our Cash App on YouTube. But we're here in love. We love you. We got to clean up our temple. Next week is the rededication of the temple. This flesh is our temple right now. God does not dwell in temples made with hands. He dwells in us. That's all I have for you. Have a blessed day.